Hello, friends. Welcome in. It is 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. I hope you've been here for over an hour. But if not, if you're just joining us, don't worry. We've got 3 full hours of what I hope to be talk radio excellence for you on this Wednesday edition, September 3rd. Thank you for being around. My name is Matt Murphy, and I'm just a part of the trifecta. There's Jackson behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. He also screens your telephone calls or your communique via the telephone lines at 615-737-9986. Say hello, Jackson.
Hey, bud, is that what we're doing now, radio excellence?
That's what we're trying. That's what we're aspiring toward.
I didn't get that email.
Well, I mean, it's a slow, it's an arduous journey. We really started it 876 days ago or shows ago. And it's a long, long journey. We're playing the long game around here, Jackson.
Sounds like we're behind schedule.
I feel that way, too. You know who's trying to keep us up?
Jay Harper.
Jay Harper. He's doing his best. He's subbing in for Ken Weaver this afternoon. Jay doing a great job. Ken back tomorrow, my understanding. We can ask Weaver had a couple of interesting posts over the weekend regarding foosball. And I'm interested in your take on foosball that I'm probably going to get in the 6 o'clock hour there, Jackson.
Oh, you want a sports minute in the 6 o'clock hour?
I want an Action Jackson sports minute in the 6 o'clock hour on your overview of what happened last week and maybe a little taste of what's to come in the NFL this weekend.
Will our resident Gump, Cameron Smith, be joining us?
I believe that is true, yes. He will be here just after Michael Lotfi in the 5 o'clock hour, and we can extend his time well into the 6 o'clock hour, and I think we can make that happen. You know, when you say resident Gump, you mean Alabama fan?
Yes, that is what they're known in my...
In your circles, you call them Gumps?
Yes.
As in Forrest Gump?
Yes.
That's pretty good, actually.
I love telling them to bleep off or anything like that.
Go back to Greenbow, Alabama!
I texted my buddy.
Which doesn't
exist. He was complaining about Alabama. I called him Gumpy instead of Grumpy.
Ooh, you're Gumpy.
Stop being so Gumpy.
You know what? You know what makes them mad? If you talk about how their players were loafing.
Oh, they were loafing.
And that's like a technical term, though. That's like football coaches use this as a way to analyze their play, right?
Nick Saban would have vapor locked by the halfway mark of the first quarter of this football game.
Well, it was. I think a lot of people who have watched Alabama excel over the last 16, 17 years in the SEC, a lot of other teams were watching that game result with delight.
Just couldn't stop smiling.
I mean, is what it is. 10 minutes after the hour, what did you think of our representative in the 5th Congressional District, Andy Ogles? Listen, there are certain things that Congress people do that are performative in nature, and this is one of them. When you tweet out this morning, we don't need the National Guard in Memphis. We don't just need the National Guard in Memphis. Send them to Nashville. Comrade O'Connell is using the city as an outpost for international gains to set up shop in our neighborhoods, punish criminals, and the mayors who work for them. And I asked Andy the question, who are you sending this to? Is this a message for the governor? Is this a message for the president? Who's this a message for? Because while I understand the concern that we have about certain metro areas in our state and certain metro areas in our country, we also have a Constitution of the United States of America. We also have the rule of law. And while presidents of the United States of America can take actions to federalize the National Guard, this presidential power has almost exclusively been utilized in ways that would address a specific event or a specific moment in time, i.e., integration of the public school system in Arkansas in the 1950s, i.e., integration of our colleges in the South in the 1960s, i.e., the Los Angeles riots of 1992. There have been times, and mostly when a president of the United States federalizes the National Guard, this is not only having to do with some specific event, but it also is with the blessing of the governor of that individual state. Now, whatever his name is, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, he could not care less about the people dying in Chicago. He doesn't give a crap about the people of Chicago, nor does Brandon Johnson, the mayor of that city. If they cared, they would do the things necessary to stop the crime. They have no interest in talking about black-on-black crime in that city, which is what it primarily is. All they want to use their bully pulpit as a platform to bash Donald Trump. And Pritzker specifically wants to utilize it to potentially launch himself into a presidential candidacy against the Republican Party and an acolyte of Donald Trump by claiming that Trump is an authoritarian or whatever. Why? Because he's not doing his job. Everyone recognizes that they're not doing their job in Chicago. Here's what I would suggest, that if you care about crime in Chicago, if you care about crime in Memphis, you need to lean as hard as possible on your local leadership. And if you come to nothing by leaning on that local leadership, then you need to lean on state leadership. Now, if I had the governor sitting in front of me now, or when we have the governor on our show the next time that we talk with him, and we've had him on plenty, I will suggest to the governor that it is time, maybe even beyond time, to look at the crime in Memphis, to look at potentially even the crime in Nashville, and ask ourselves, are the mayors of these communities, are the city councils of these communities, is local leadership doing enough to protect the citizens of these areas? And if not, it is up to the governor of any individual state to do something about it. Our Constitution mandates that we handle crime and punishment, that we handle law enforcement locally and through the states. And the 10th Amendment guarantees that any power not specifically delegated to the federal government is left to the states. So a president of the United States of America does, in fact, have the authority to federalize the National Guard and take them out of the governor's command and placing them under federal control. But this authority rests on a couple of things. One, the Insurrection Act. And I don't know that any of us would suggest that general crime is a quote-unquote insurrection. And for specific purposes, such as suppressing rebellion or executing federal law. And I don't see any of those things going on in Memphis. I don't see any of those things going on in Chicago. Now, you guys know me. You listen to me a long time. You know that I support our president of the United States of America. And I sure as hell support his efforts with regard to immigration and customs enforcement. Because that is under the umbrella of authority for the federal government. The federal government secures our borders, and the federal government deals with those that have gotten into our United States of America illegally. That is a part of their purpose. And particularly in these states that will not act in compliance with federal law, I am fully supportive of the federal government coming in and cleaning up our city streets pursuant to that same law. But that's not what we're talking about with Memphis. Andy, I asked him if he's called the governor. I haven't, 5946 says, you let him off the hook on the have you called the governor. He's obviously passionate about it, so why hasn't he called? A call from a congressman might make a difference. He talks about it, posts about it, but no action. No, I think you got the point, 5946. I mean, you say I let him off the hook. You got the point. The point was Andy had time to post about it, and Andy, I hope you're listening. I mean, Andy knows I don't suffer this nonsense, and I'm going to call it out when I see it. And that doesn't mean that I'm an enemy of his or a friend of his. I'll see Andy this Saturday morning at Big Bad Breakfast, maybe. I don't know. I just disagree with this tactic. I mean, you have time to tweet about it, but you don't have time to call the governor, pick up the phone and call the governor. You don't think the governor would take your call? Call the governor. Or maybe the whole purpose was to just get a tweet out about it so you can talk about the tweet and get, Trump looking at your tweets. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose is. You either support the idea of a federal takeover of Memphis or you don't. And Andy said he didn't. Well, then who are you talking to when you say that we need to bring out the National Guard? You must be talking to the governor then, but you don't call him. 3425, why didn't you call him out when you were talking to him, Coward? I did. I told him I disagreed with him. I don't 3425, you're listening to the wrong show if you think I won't call these people out. I've called Andy out on multiple occasions. Andy has sucked his thumb and gone away from the show I'm not afraid of Andy Ogles leaving this show. I called him out and he left this show for 7 months and wouldn't call me back, wouldn't return my call. And he finally came back on the show. I'm not afraid of any of these people. And I'll see him on Saturday, and he'll hear every word of this on Saturday, 3425, and I hope you're there so you can hear it with your own ears. You know, it's performative in nature when you're doing it this way. Mike is in Old Hickory with a thought on, well, the federal government. Hey, Mike.
How you doing? I just like to ask a question. What is the difference between National Guard and a federale?
I'm sorry, Mike. What's the difference between what?
What is the difference between a National Guard troop and a federale? In other words, we have 50 states that have each National Guards for each of their state, but it's called National Guard, not State Guard. And then we have called federales, federal troops, like you call them. What's the difference? Because you say in one word, they're federal troops now moving into cities that you're against. But then on the other side, you say, well, it's the National Guard. So what is it? Is it federal troops run by Trump out of Washington? Where are they based? Do they have their own tanks or what? Or is it National Guard run by governors? 50 governors that run our troops that serve our country, to serve our nation, called National Guard, nation protecting. So what I understand that is you use the word federal troops, and then the other side you say National Guard. Federal troops, to me, means that you think that they're a bunch of jackbooted thugs running around taking over governors' mansions, mayors' mansions, mayors' houses, senators' houses, and they're just taking over the country. That's not what they're doing. They're just sent out there to defend the law, the rule of law, and get rid of criminals.
Where?
That's all they're doing.
Where are they?
Every place.
No, Mike, specifically. No. Wait, no. We're not talking about Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's not National Guard, and those aren't National Guardsmen. Those are part of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is a part of the Department of Homeland Security.
Which does what? Stop criminals coming into this country.
Right, but those are federal agents, but those are domestic federal agents. That's not a part of the United States military.
And so what part of the military do you say there are federal troops versus National Guard troops?
Are you taking exception with my use of the word federal, Mike? Is that what you are? Is that what?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, then, what do you want me to? What phraseology do you want me to use you want me to say National Guardsmen?
National Guardsmen.
Okay.
Because that's what they are. They're not federal troops out there kicking ass with a jackboot, and that's taking over mansions, taking over governorship.
Who said that, Mike?
You did.
When?
You
when did I say that? No, Mike. When did I say that anybody was taking over governor's mansion? I haven't said any of that.
I didn't say that.
You just said that. You just said that, Mike. You just said that I said they're taking over mansions. When did I say that?
You are inferring that federal troops that you're against.
I'm not inferring anything. I have 4 hours to say what I mean. So
federal troops. You're against federal troops.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm pro-Constitution. The Constitution prohibits the federal government from taking over the processes of law and order and enforcing the law in local communities unless the President of the United States of America declares that there has been an insurrection or federalizes, that is the terminology used in the language of the bill and the law, federalizes the National Guard.
You told Andy Ogles that you are against the federalization of troops coming into cities, right?
Yes.
Well, you just made my point.
And that I'm against, without a specific reason or a specific act, I'm against the President of the United States of America using the power of the federal government to take over the basic law enforcement duties of local communities and the states. Yes, I believe in the Constitution of the United States, Mike.
And I believe in our troops. And part of
do you believe in the Constitution? Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States, Mike?
And I believe the president has
specific question, Mike. You got 30 seconds. Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States, Mike?
Do you believe in the national?
Goodbye. 23 after the hour. I can't handle it. 23 after the hour. Thank you for your call, Mike. I appreciate you very much. It's a simple question. Do you believe in the Constitution? Do you believe in the 10th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States? Do you believe that the states have dual sovereignty in conjunction with the federal government? Do you believe that 95% of our governance should be handled by states and local communities? I do. I am a federalist when it comes to this type of thing. And Mike, you clearly are not. It is 23 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Jay. 28 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, happy Wednesday. It is a midweek edition, despite the fact that it's my first day back from a Labor Day holiday and then one day off yesterday. I appreciate, by the way, Cameron Smith for sitting in with us yesterday on the show. And Cameron will be along in the 5 o'clock hour to talk about a variety of different issues, to include our big debate that's coming up this Friday. I don't know if you're going to be there or not. I've asked the question, and I don't know that I have an answer yet. But I think you're going to be there. I don't know.
Don't leave me.
I'm going to try to get you out there. You know, I'm going to be on the show from 3 until 6:30. Dan Mandis will be taking over from 6:30 to 7 o'clock, giving me a little opportunity to go and get a short break before the debate starts at 7 o'clock. This Friday night, it's live at Cabaret, and it will be broadcast live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 7th Congressional District Debate.
So let's say I do go. Will Dan be on site with me?
He will not.
Okay.
He begged. So I thought Cameron would be out there, and Cameron is going to be out of state. So I begged him. Mandis made an agreement with me. I think he must have been drugged up or high or something or another. But
maybe grab something from the unhoused person at
that's exactly when he made the agreement at Edley's Barbecue. He said, yeah, I'll do it for you, Murphy. Yeah, sure. I'm all in. I'll help you out. And I reminded him of that today, and I think he must have forgotten about it. So he said, is it okay if he does it from home base, which is fine, you know. I'll give us all the more reason for you to be out there.
Exactly. I get to check out at 6:30.
No. You'll be working harder at 6:30. They will need you out there from 6:30 to 7 o'clock.
Yes. I'll be working very hard from 6:30 to 7, making sure that Dan Mandis does his show in a prompt and formal fashion live from his home studio.
There you go. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Jim is next. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, Jim.
Hey, in regards to that last caller, about National Guard. So we are all, as far as National Guard is concerned, we're all federal troops. And the reason why I say that is because we've all done federal missions, right? We've all, National Guard has been deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, all over this world. So what's the difference, between us going to overseas missions and doing missions inside the U.S.? We're under the federal government. We don't have a choice, and the governor can't tell the president, "Hey, sorry, you're not going to send the troops over to Afghanistan or Iraq." He doesn't have a choice. The troops are going to go, and that's it. So, as far as I'm concerned, we're all federalized. Our orders are all written by the federal government.
I looked at it, and maybe Mike was taking exception to this. I look at the two terms as relatively interchangeable. The National Guard, we use that more based on, powers delegated by the individual governors, or in some cases, the president of the United States with regard to doing things in our home country. A lot of times these are emergency declarations after, we just saw the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. There was National Guard troops federalized during that time. The distinction is just when the president of the United States usurps or takes over the authority of the governor of said state and federalizes the National Guard, which is normally under the power of the governors of the individual states. That's when we talk about federalizing the troops. And that's what we're talking about if the president were to, for example, call the troops into Chicago, Illinois. Now, the president believes that he has the legal authority to do that. I do not believe that we've reached a point where we have a crisis or an emergency that would give him that authority to usurp the wishes of that governor.
No, and I completely agree. And my thing, and the other thing too is, like, if you look at a lot of social media out there, and of course they're always saying, hey, we look at like the white liberals out there. They're the ones that are 100% against sending troops into the cities. But then again, if you actually talk to people who are on the other side of the aisle, well, not even the other side of the aisle, but we'll just say the inner cities, they want troops there. So I think if you actually had unbiased reporting, you would see a 50-50 split on whether troops should or should not be there, or should I say troops wanted or not wanted there.
Well, no, sure. I mean, and look, I understand that a lot of people are frustrated, and I've got to run. A lot of people are frustrated by the fact that clearly the governor of Illinois is not doing his job. The mayor of Chicago is not doing his job to protect and to serve the citizens. But the citizens vote and elect on those people. They vote on those people. This is the way that a representative republic works. And because we don't like the manner in which they govern a certain area or a certain state does not mean that the president of the United States should have the power to usurp the authority of the voting public and come in and take over. That's not the way that any of you want it to work, especially if you have a liberal governor, or rather a liberal president taking over the authority of a conservative governor. It's I'm way late. I apologize to Jay Harper in the newsroom. It's 33 after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, I have a question for the audience. You know what? I'm going to hold off we've got to get to our next guest. I'm going to hold off on this question. Remind me to ask this question. You perv. Yeah. Y2J's a weirdo. Because I told him that I hooked up with Dusty Slay during my weekend trip to Biloxi, Mississippi. Good friend of the show, Dusty Slay. Fine comedian. Got a couple of specials out on Netflix. You need to go watch them. Very funny guy. Very funny comedy set. And he's asking me what I did. And I said, well, hooked up with Dusty. He goes, oh, you hooked up with him? Well, stop it. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't even know what big spoon means. Anyway, 615-737-9986. More of your calls. Plus, 0544 wants me to defend the fact that I'm not a liberal. He says that I'm a liberal. And he wants me to prove that I'm not a liberal. And I can do it. I can do it, believe it or not. So we'll try that on for size in the next hour. Right now, our good friend Congressman Gary Palmer is on the line with us. Now, Gary is a congressman for the 6th Congressional District of the great state of Alabama. I consider him a good friend. He was a frequent guest when I was down there in Birmingham. We've had him on from time to time up here as well. And some big goings on involving Alabama and more specifically Huntsville. And I wanted to talk with our friend Gary Palmer about it all. Congressman, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good, Matt. How are you?
I'm fine. How's Miss Ann?
She's doing great.
Oh, good. I'm glad. She's still having to put up with you, I suppose, which is a full-time job. Yeah,
well, her reward in heaven's going to be great, brother.
Well, it's good to talk with you. I mean, it's good news. I loved seeing it. I guess it was yesterday. I saw the press conference, and there's my good friend, Congressman Palmer, amongst a few of the other congressmen from the state of Tennessee, both the U.S. Senators, Katie Britt and Tommy Tuberville, enjoying the big news that the U.S. Space Command is officially getting back to Huntsville. Tell us all about it.
Well, first of all, Space Command should be in Huntsville just from a national security perspective. That's where we're developing the Golden Dome. We're developing the missile defense system. You got the Redstone Arsenal with so many of our defense weapons development operations going on, and then you've also got Marshall Space Flight Center. So just in terms of the states that wanted to host the Space Command, Alabama was at the top of every list, even when Biden was president. The only reason that it was put in Colorado was political. And by the way, Colorado came in last in all these evaluations. It's funny, I did an interview this morning, Matt, and someone asked me, said that the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, said that this compromises national security, moving it from Colorado to Alabama. And my response was, the next time I ask Jared Polis for advice on national security, it'll be the first time.
Well, obviously I like the Democrats come out of the woodwork and try to defend what Joe Biden did, which was nakedly political in its nature. Alabama has the history. There's a reason that Huntsville has been known as the Rocket City since I moved to Alabama. We knew it as the Rocket City since the 1960s and the United States space race. Just walk us through and help those that maybe don't understand. The history of Huntsville is well established as the epicenter for our rocket systems in the United States. And I know that Florida got some of the glory and that Houston got some of the glory, NASA moving to Houston thanks to LBJ and Florida having Cape Canaveral and whatnot. But, man, where the power units of these rockets were built, that's right there in Huntsville.
And Saturn V rockets were all built in Huntsville, but the story goes back post-World War II, and they brought all these German scientists over, including Werner von Braun, and they chose Huntsville because it reminded them of the geography, reminded them of Germany. But that's where the whole our space race really began, the development of these rockets that could lift a satellite into orbit, that could put a human into orbit, and eventually put a man on the moon. I think Florida got into the act because the location for launches was, in terms of the geospatial aspect of it, was better in Florida. Obviously, it was a power play by LBJ to get NASA in Houston, but Huntsville is really the heart of our role in space. And the thing about Space Force that a lot of people don't understand, this is not your typical military. It's very much asymmetrical warfare type training, a lot of technology involved, and space has become the ultimate high ground in terms of defense. And Matt, you know your military history. Militaries throughout history have always wanted to attain the high ground because it was an advantageous position. And what I said in a press conference yesterday with the president is that we don't want to just occupy space. We want to dominate space.
Tell me what this means for Huntsville, for North Alabama, and even by extension, the southern regions of, I feel like the 65 corridor into Tennessee and even places like Chattanooga and whatnot could potentially see some economic impact and benefit. Talk to me about, what that area is going to experience with U.S. Space Command coming in.
I think that what we have the potential here, Matt, is a technology corridor that could extend up and down I-65 into Tennessee, but I think it could go all the way down to Mobile. And you're going to have a lot of subsidiary type industry that comes in to support this. But I think that's going to be more related to the Golden Dome and the development of the missile defense systems. Like I said, Space Force, in its infancy right now, and I've traveled to our base in Italy. I've traveled to our base in Greenland, and the base in Greenland is so far above the Arctic Circle that you have to look south to see the Northern Lights. The things that we're doing, you don't have phasers like they did on Star Trek, but it is incredible, the technology that's being developed for our own national security. So I think you're going to see a lot of companies coming up that are more on the technology side than the kinetic side in terms of weapons. That part, like I say, will be predominantly the Golden Dome and the missile defense system.
I mean, can you help me? At first I was concerned with the price tag, and you and I have talked plenty about our overspending, and I know that you share the concerns that I have with our continuation of the overspending. I feel like we've gotten the ship maybe slowed down, and maybe it'll stop and start getting turned around. Hopefully we'll get back to the regular order that you and I have talked about for years, 12 separate appropriation bills that you and I have talked about for years. I was concerned about the price tag of the Golden Dome, Gary. Do you share those concerns, or do you believe that the impact of a system like this will benefit us to the point that it's worth the amount of money?
Well, Matt, one of the reasons we're having to spend so much money now is because of decisions made that go back to the Obama administration. We were leading the world in the development of hypersonic weapons, and Obama shut the program down. So it lay dormant all those years. First term of President Trump tried to revitalize it, but China has really gotten ahead of us in terms of short range and mid range hypersonics. I don't know if anyone has the capabilities for intercontinental hypersonics. So the question of how much something costs should be. You shouldn't have to answer that the day after something tragic happens. So I think this is a deterrent, and I think it'll be worth the money. But one of the reasons why it's so expensive is decisions that were made during the Obama administration that really put us in a bad spot. And it's not just that, it's the decisions that we decided that we didn't need to process and refine rare earth elements. We'll let China do that, to the point now that there's not a single major refinery for rare earth elements in the entire Western Hemisphere. And people say, well, what's that got to do with anything? Matt, you can't make any kind of electronics without rare earth elements. You can't even make a car. We have to have rare earth elements to harden lead for ammunition for rifles, and we're getting about 18% of that element's antimony from dead car batteries, and these have become national security issues. So we've made some really, really bad decisions, and that's one of the reasons why the cost is so high.
Our guest is Congressman Gary Palmer, talking about the relocation. I mean, and honestly, I mean, this never should have been moved. I mean, but what is the physical activity that needs to happen now? What would we expect with U.S. Space Command coming to Alabama? And what's the time frame as you understand it, Gary?
Well, I think initially it's going to be located within the Redstone Arsenal for security purposes, but we'll build a facility there. By the way, Senator Tuberville made this point in the press conference yesterday. This is actually going to save us about $400 million moving it from Colorado to Alabama. But there'll be a facility to house it, and it'll be located, I think, within the Redstone Arsenal for security purposes. It won't be out in the research park area that you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. All these other companies. This is different.
Gary, always good to catch up with you. Tell Miss Ann we said hello, and we'll talk to you again very soon about this and other matters involving, obviously, the southeastern region. And great news, and congratulations to all of our good friends down in Alabama.
Well, next time you're in Alabama, let me know. We'll buy your lunch.
I will. Thank you, Gary. Take care. All right, there's Congressman Gary Palmer, good man, 53 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, I'm a little bit fascinated by this, and perhaps we'll get a chance to talk about it in the 5 o'clock hour. 0380 has written in, and 0380 asks a question, and I think it merits an answer. How many people need to be murdered before the president should call in the National Guard? Do you have a number that would make it okay? Yeah, I mean, I think the number would be all of them. And that's a joke. It is not the job of the federal government to police the states. The federal government should be called in only if there is insurrection. Now, I understand that the president of the United States is regarding some of the illegal alien activity as a de facto insurrection, and I understand that argument. It is not the job of the federal government to police the states. It is the job of the states and the local communities to police themselves. The Constitution still matters, right? The Constitution still matters. I promise you, you don't want the federal government taking over the job of policing your local community. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.